Welcome everyone to the Calabasas Planning Commission meeting of September 21, 2023. First item on the agenda is to call everyone to order and the roll call of members, but it looks like all of us are here. So the Pledge of Allegiance, Noah, you're going to be introduced later, but you're our Mayor's Youth Council member. Could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? The flag's over there. Thanks.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Noah. Let's see. Motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. All right. Next is announcements and introductions. Did you want to make some announcements, Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would, first of all, because Epi has moved on to a different employment situation. He's no longer with City Attorney's Office. You won't see Epi here as our attorney. And Matt Summers is away. So we have Andrew Jarrett, who is the city attorney for this meeting, and he's available through Zoom. He wasn't able to be here in person, but he's logged on via Zoom. And then secondly, I'd like to introduce who's sitting at my left, Noah Weintraub, who is a representative of the Mayor's Youth Council and is one of two members of that council who will be sitting in regularly at Planning Commission meetings and will be available to offer input on projects. They won't be voting. They're not members of the commission, but we are encouraging them to attend and offer input to the extent that the commissioners would seek it. And we'll be able to have input from younger members of the community. So we want to welcome Noah. Maddie Strauss is the other one, or Madeline, and she was unable to come this evening, but as soon as she would be here, the next meeting, perhaps, we will introduce her as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Noah, are you any relation to anybody?
I hope so. Yes, my mom might work for the city.
Okay. Tom, do you think it would be okay to have the youth council members sit up on the dais, or do you prefer to have them down there?
As you may remember, we have an alternate member position where there is actually 6 appointees to the Planning Commission, including 5 members and an alternate, and the city attorney as well. So all positions on the dais are taken.
All right. Well, thank you. And Noah, you're interested. Why don't you tell everybody what you're interested in or why you're here?
I'm the head of the Economic Development Subcommittee on the Mayor's Youth Council, and I've been working with Blake and Bryce from Caruso to just give the youth implement plans on like the commons. And I also just wanted to learn more about the city and what actually goes down in the planning to see how it gets implemented into what I know and see and all my friends see today. And I just want to learn more behind the process and behind the scenes so I could get educated actually myself and to inform the people of my age what's really happening in this city. So yeah, thank you guys for having me here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for coming. Did you get a chance to go to that sign and look at the vision of the proposed project at the Commons?
Yes, I saw my mom showed me. Thank you.
I mean, you said you were talking with Blake. Okay. Are there, let's see. Well, I do want to mention one sort of sad thing. I read that Arnold Sank passed away last week, and he was active in Calabasas Park Homeowners Association and the Cityhood Committee. So I think we'll miss him, and I'd like to adjourn in his honor, and maybe Dennis.
That's a good idea.
Okay, but you probably worked with him on
Many years.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just so I can make an appropriate note for the minutes, could you please tell me that name again, please? It was Arnold, and what was
Arnold Sank, S-A-N-K.
Thank you.
That's right. Somebody has to put all this in the minutes anyway. And of course, I wanted to wish John and Dennis and Bob a happy birthday and and thank you and all the best in the coming year, and a Shana Tova and a very sweet New Year to those of you who are celebrating.
Thank you.
So, any announcements, Wendy?
No, just want to welcome Noah. It's good to have you here. hopefully this will be a good experience for you, a good learning experience. I also want to say that I feel very left out being the only one up on this dais who apparently doesn't have a September birthday. I mean, come on now.
It's not just September, we're like within 5 days, all four of us.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, but when it's your birthday, you'll be very
Yeah,
special.
You'll be very special. What is it, March or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
March.
You'll have to let us know.
Are we sure that many birthdays so close together isn't a Brown Act violation?
What do you- Yeah.
I think John has something that he'd like to say.
Oh, I'm sorry, John.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to mention that I was listening to NPR this morning and Larry Mantle has a show. And he had on the show Mr. McNutt from the Las Virgenes Municipal Water District describing a potential project between the district and a company called Ocean Well, I think. And it's a desalinization project, which would desal ocean water and ultimately pipe it up here and then mix it with the district's reservoir in Westlake. And it's a unique project for here. It may have been done, I think when he said it's been done in Israel, but it's basically taking very deep and pretty clean and pretty low salt ocean water, which is deep and therefore under pressure. And that pressure allows the water to come up without all the expense that normally has to go into regular desal plants. So if you can save money and energy by getting the water cleaner, less salt, and faster, you save money. And it wouldn't just be Las Virgenes district, it would be other water districts involved in this project. So there was a very long piece. What's McNutt's first name? Is it Mark?
Michael.
Michael. And he did very well in describing how this technique could benefit all of us who are otherwise reliant on the state water project, more or less. Anyway, I thought I'd never heard of it. I'm sure Dennis,
I read about it
have you read about it?
online.
It was in the Los Angeles Times, actually, with a big photo.
The cells. I mean,
Yes. So it sounds very exciting. I mean, I'm sure it's years away, but got to start sometime.
It actually isn't that far away, and that's the beauty of the whole thing. And it's using the basic high pressure that's deep water, 200 to 400 feet down, and it uses that pressure without electricity to force the water through the reverse osmosis and other filtering mechanisms. So the water that comes out of the ocean is actually clean and goes right into whatever storage device we want, whether it's a lake or a cistern or, even a swimming pool. We could use this water technique. And as it becomes more commercially available and investigated by all the researchers, it's going to be probably one of the major solutions to our water supply problems. And it doesn't harm the ocean. That's the beauty of it.
Very, very low impact on marine life because it's so deep that there isn't a lot of marine life there, not even a lot of plankton.
And you don't have to create expensive brine lines to deal with all the minerals and other stuff that comes out of the water that's cleaned up out of Tapia, as an example, which is what the Pure Water Project will do. We're going to need it all. I mean, the Pure Water Project is a critical issue, but this other technique is going to be, I think, in ascendancy. It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Any announcements? Anything else, Dennis?
I just want to invite people to have some fun because last year, Robbie Krieger was at the Cantina. Robbie Krieger is the guy who wrote most of the good Doors music. And there was a great concert at the Cantina or Sagebrush Cantina. And Robbie Krieger is coming back on October 7th. And it supports Old Town. And Old Town supports the Leonis Adobe Museum, which is also characteristic of supporting the city of Calabasas, even though it's in LA. So you can have a good time and support the Old Town territory and the Leonis Adobe Museum by actually going to the concert and having a good time. And the best way to check in is probably go to sagebrush.com or whatever their website is and reserve a ticket.
Sounds good. And I would like to know that our water district has been in the forefront of some of projects before. So this is great news.
From its inception.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. The next thing on our agenda is oral communications for the public to comment on matters that are not on the agenda. Does anybody want to speak on something that's not on the agenda? I don't have any cards for that. Okay.
Anybody online?
Oh, that's no, I don't think we have a mixed meeting. It's just the attorney, Andrew Jarrett, who's online. But I don't think it's a hybrid meeting. So the next is the consent items, which is approval of the minutes for September 7 and adoption of resolution 2023-757. Does anybody want to pull any of those, or is there?
Yes, I have two corrections on the minutes.
Okay.
On page 3, the next to last sentence, it should be 739 instead of 139.
Good eye. Yeah. I must have closed it at 7:39. I can't imagine. Anyway, okay.
And then on page 4, the third paragraph up from the bottom, delete the word unnecessary, which is also false, misleading, and pejorative.
Let's see. It was discussed that a consequence of choosing the second path. I don't even remember what that second path was.
Yeah, right here, Michael.
No, yeah, I see, but second path was that it entails an unnecessary delay to approval of projects. Oh, right. Okay. All right. So is there an agreement for those two changes to take out unnecessary and to change the time?
I would move the minutes with those changes.
Yep.
Second.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
So do you need me to go?
It's moved and seconded by, I heard two different members.
Commissioner Fosberg, I think, second.
Yeah. I heard
Thank you.
Wendy seconded it, or I,
Thank you.
and you got the two changes. Okay. So now for the planning commission, let's see. Resolution 2023-757. Is there a motion to approve that? Or does somebody want to
I just have one minor change.
Okay.
On page 7 of 15
Okay.
in enumerated paragraph 3. At the end of that italicized introduction, there's an or. Is that supposed to be there? The semicolon and an or? And then it goes right into the discussion.
No, apologies,
It's a
Commissioner.
typo.
Yes, there's 5 findings for approval of a scenic corridor permit. It's either urban scenic corridor or rural. So in this case, it's urban scenic corridor. So it shouldn't say the or.
We just delete the or.
Right.
Okay. That's the
To a
nitpick.
period instead of a semicolon.
And since change it to a period, right?
Good catch.
After corridor.
Good catch.
I'm glad you're not editing my thesis.
I will point out, because that little bit does remind me that quite often as we present findings or other quotations from our municipal code, we'll put it in as it's in the code. And sometimes it's got grammatical errors and other issues. We won't quote it anyway, but the way we find it. So just heads up on that.
Right. So maybe you just like copy and paste, but I think I see the same problem in item number 2 at the end. That should probably be a period as well in the italicized introduction. So with those changes, is there a
With
second?
those changes.
Second?
Second.
Dennis? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
So unanimously approved. And so much for the consent items. Now we have a public hearing item. So this is do you want to introduce Angela Georgia? Or
I guess I'm surprised because I thought she'd presented to the commission before. Apparently not.
Only city council, not the planning commission yet.
Ironically, I suppose. Okay. Angela Georgia has been with us for a year, and she came to us from Ventura County, and we're really pleased to have her. We're pleased to have Jacqueline too, but since we're introducing Angela, I'll focus on her. She's one of our associate planners, and she's been doing an awful lot of work. Apparently none of it happening to come to you all until now. You'll find out how great she is yourselves momentarily.
thank you. So Angela, do you want to begin and then we can open the public hearing and?
Sure.
Okay,
Thank you so much, Tom, for the introduction. Good evening, commissioners. I would like to start out by noting that this project, which is file number CUP 2023-006, was noticed to all of the property owners within 500 feet. And the notice was posted on our website and throughout the city at all the required locations. And staff has not received any public correspondence in regards to the project. The subject site, which you can see here that's outlined in green, is located just north of the intersection of Agora Road and Las Virgenes Road and just south of the 101 freeway. Due to the proximity of the site to the 101 freeway, the subject site is located within the 101 freeway scenic corridor. However, there are no proposed modifications to the site layout or to the exterior of the building, and thus the scenic corridor permit is not necessary for the current project. The project before you tonight is a request for a CUP, which is to allow for off-site consumption of beer, wine, and spirits via a Type 21 license from the State Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control, which is in conjunction with the operation of an existing convenience store. The subject site is located at 4807 Las Virgenes Road. This photo here shows the existing building as viewed from Las Virgenes looking west. The existing site is fully developed with a gas station, convenience store, and 2 storage buildings. The applicant is not proposing to alter the exterior of the facility or the current site design. And the only change to the interior building layout will be within the sales area. I'll show you on the next slide. This is the proposed floor plan. And if you notice here, the purple areas are the areas with alcohol. And the proposal only includes 2.7% of the overall store to be dedicated to alcohol and distilled spirits. And as I mentioned in the slide before, the applicant is only requesting 2.7% of the sales floor, which the maximum is 25% for convenience stores per section 17.12.035 of the Calabasas Municipal Code. Employees are also trained in alcohol beverage sales rules, laws, and regulations as detailed in Exhibit B of the staff report. This is a table of the off-sale liquor licenses that are current in Calabasas. So currently we have 8 locations with a Type 20 license, and then we have 7 with a Type 21 license. If your commission recommends approval of this project, then that would change it to 8 with a Type 21 and then 7 with a Type 20.
and could you let us all know the difference? Which one is the beer and wine and which one is everything? Or
Of course, the Type 20 is for just beer and wine. And then the Type 21 license is for beer, wine, and spirits. As stated on the slide and in our staff report, the CUP findings that must be considered and met for an approval are listed here. This project request is an allowable use in the CR zoning, and it is exempt from CEQA review. And thank you. And I'm available here if you have any questions. And we also have our applicant, Steve Rollins, who is available to answer any questions as well.
all right, well, can we start with questions maybe first, and then I can open the public hearing, or do you want me to open the public hearing?
I just have one. Do you have questions for staff in terms of the report itself, either the one presented tonight or the written one? Let's please handle those and then you can
Okay.
open the hearing.
So let's just do the questions.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Thank you for your presentation, Ms. Georgieff, and nice to meet you. The question I have is on the proposed floor plan. I see under one of the purple rectangles is spirits cabinet, kind of near the cashier station. and then another spot that says spirits. Do you happen to know if that, and the applicant can probably answer this if you don't know, but does that mean those spirits are under lock and key? Or are they available for anyone to just go up and bring the stuff to the cashier?
I'll let the applicant answer that question.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Any other questions for staff? No? All right, so let's open the public hearing and because I have a question for and you have, there are a couple of questions for the applicant. So the only card I have is from you, Steve Rawlings, is it? Can you just give us your name and what city you live in?
Certainly. Hey, good evening. My name is Steve Rawlings. I am a third-party consultant to United Pacific, assisting them with permits and licenses necessary to sell alcohol in their stores in California. I am based in Temecula, California, and I'm here this evening to answer some questions and also tell you a little bit about United Pacific and their operations. United Pacific is actually one of the largest operators of gas stations and convenience stores in the Western United States. They are now up to over 500 stores, and again, they're in other states, not just here in California. They currently have 3,600 employees. They're based in Long Beach, California. They've grown through a lot of acquisitions. If you didn't notice, there happens to be two Rocket convenience stores literally next door to each other. One is a Shell and one is a Chevron. The Shell was one of their original stores. The Chevron came through in an acquisition when they acquired a company that had, I don't know, 50 stores, and this one happened to be one of those particular stores. So I was asked that question by somebody, and I was like, well, okay, that's kind of the explanation there. And Rocket Convenience Stores is proprietary to United Pacific. They have started a franchise model, but for the most part in the state of California, all of the Rocket convenience stores are corporate owned and operated. The request this evening is to allow us to be able to sell distilled spirits along with the beer and wine that we've been selling for many, many years there. The question was asked, we do keep them, the ones that are not directly behind the cashier's station are in a glass cabinet and locked. So that somebody has to ask somebody to get it. We certainly don't want product to walk out the door. That's for sure. Another interesting point about the request for distilled spirits is that there's a ongoing and rising demand by the consumers for what they call ready to drink products. And you may not be completely familiar with them, but they are, a lot of times in a can, just like you might see a beer. And they are like Cutwater is a leading product line in that, and they're based out of San Diego, as a matter of fact. And they sell a margarita in a can, if you will, and they actually do use tequila in that particular product. Now, a lot of people ask, alcohol by volume for these ready to drinks, it typically ranges between 10 and 14%. Your typical wine bottle is going to be between 10 and 14%. So it's not like it's this supercharged beverage. It's pretty much a watered down type of product that's very similar to wine in terms of the alcohol content. But people prefer that, just because of the taste. They would rather consume a product that has actual tequila in it. So that is a big driver of it. There are many of the other convenience store operators in the state of California are making this same request of many other communities. The Extra Mile stores are doing it, and PM is doing it as well. And it really is in response to a consumer demand. The answer is yes, there will be inventoried bottles of spirits, but that's not necessarily the driver of it. The driver is these ready to drink. One of the interesting things that did come out of the pandemic is the increase in shopper volume at convenience stores. And that has continued to has continued on beyond there. So the convenience store industry has been responding by trying to offer a wider range of products they're all going to much larger formats. This store is about a 3,000 square foot store, and they want to be able to sell much more fresh produce, yogurts, pre-made sandwiches, salads, and so on and so forth, because they're getting a lot of customers coming in for those type of products. Because, if you go to a grocery store, you're in there for 10 or 15 minutes. Convenience store, you're buying gas anyway, and you're in and out. And the merchandisers are trying to respond and provide more products that the consumers are looking for. So with that, thank you for allowing me to kind of tell you a little bit about it, and I'm available for any questions that anybody may have.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah, just very, very briefly, is Rocket in any way connected to Chevron, or is it a totally separate entity?
So it's separate. No, you're purchasing your gas from Chevron, so you fly the Chevron gas banner, but the convenience store is the United Pacific, and United Pacific is purchasing the gas from Chevron. So it's more of a branding thing, and you'll see it a lot. You'll see like Circle K's who don't have any gas, but they might be a 76 dealer, or the Rocket convenience store that is next door deals in Shell gas. So you see this quite often. You don't see it so much with the extra mile stores are almost always kind of a Chevron extra mile. And you also see the other one that's AMPM is almost always an ARCO type of gas. But in other situations, it's relatively common to have, off brands, so to speak.
But have you encountered liability issues where Rocket and Chevron, being separate entities on the same property, are having disputes between them regarding liability?
No, we're actually United Pacific is just merely purchasing it and is kind of a franchisee, if you would, of Chevron. So they are a Chevron dealer, but it is not Chevron corporate. So the entire operation is owned and operated by United Pacific.
I see.
If I may, are you saying that Rocket operates the gasoline dispensing part of the property as that business as well as the convenience store?
Yes.
And they're just purchasing the gas from they're delivering Chevron gas.
Correct.
But they're operating the property.
Correct. They operate the entire business.
I see.
But it's not really Rocket. It's either United Pacific.
Well, it's United Pacific.
It's
the brand name for the convenience store is Rocket, and the gas that they're dispensing is a Chevron product.
And what's APRO LLC? Because that was in here too on the plans.
That's another entity. And
so what owns all these entities?
I believe that United Pacific is the umbrella.
Got it.
APRO, I believe, was kind of created because they purchased a company who was APRO, and so they left title. They bought the shares of APRO. I think that's kind of how it went down. So I know it's a little bit complicated, but essentially it's all the same.
It's confusing only because we see Rocket stores at different brands. But what you're saying is they're franchisees. They're not corporate, Chevron and Shell, and I've seen it at 76 too. So what you're saying is they have the franchise to purchase fuel from one of those
Correct
companies, and then they operate all these stores under the name Rocket.
Exactly. I mean, there's a lot of independent operators, and I could own a gas station or a convenience store, and I may sign a franchise agreement with, say, Circle K, or I could sign it with AMPM, or I could sign it with, et cetera, et cetera. I can also sign a dealership agreement with an oil company so that I can have their sign up on my property as well. So it's kind of unique to this industry.
And you said the company's headquartered in Long Beach, but the owner's like right here, isn't he? I mean,
I believe he lives in this area. Yes.
In Hidden Hills or whatever. Okay. All right. So, any other questions? I have a question about the security, because you said you have it, a lot of things under glass, locked glass, but lately we've been seeing people walk into all kinds of stores and just smashing things and walking out. Do you have to have any more security because of that kind of alcohol?
We haven't found that to be the case. When there has been distilled spirits offered, we haven't seen any increase in shrinkage. Every retailer, I mean, literally every retailer in the United States is dealing with increased shrinkage, and it's an unfortunate situation that's occurring. I mean, Nordstrom's closed their flagship store in San Francisco because there was way too much product walking out there, and it goes on at C stores. It's we do what we can to deter that, but certainly unfortunately it does happen. We do find that if it's under a lock and key, that product has a tendency to stay there and not walk out the door, and so we do that. And when we're not selling, after hours, we lock our coolers with the beer. Some of the stores operate 24 hours. I don't believe this one does, but we have some stores that operate 24 hours. But in the state of California, you can only sell alcohol from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. So all of our coolers are locked between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. is just an extra measure of security.
Thank you. Do you have any other questions?
No, I'm prepared to make a motion unless there are.
Okay, Janice, do you have any questions? Oh, okay, go ahead.
Okay. I move that we direct staff to prepare a resolution for approval of file number CUP 2023-006.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? No? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous then. Thank you very much, Mr. Rollins. Next, we go to the director's report, which I guess will be you, Tom.
It is tonight. So my report will be just about as brief as everything else you've had this evening. Our next meeting, October 5th, is likely to be canceled. We don't actually have anything tracking for that.
Well, we just have we have the resolutions for this.
Well, we will have the resolution for that, but we wouldn't typically try to have you meet just for a consent resolution approval. So preferably what we can do, and it's unfortunate that the applicant's representative walked out of the room, but we'll follow up with them. We won't have a problem with it waiting until October 19th, and it can be on the consent agenda there. Now, we are anticipating that the Caruso project that I'm sure you're all familiar with will be before the commission on that date. They have their story poll equivalents as approved by the city council up and operational, and that includes the what do we call it? The computer generated type virtual reality portrayals. If you haven't tried it yet, you go to one of their kiosk type signs that will have basically a thumbnail description of the project, and it has a QR code there. You use that and you pull up from the app related to that a map that shows where, from 5 different perspectives, you can view a simulation of the new buildings in relation to the context that you see today. So it's really interesting to use that. I think it's exceptionally effective at portraying what somebody would see from a variety of viewpoints. So I encourage you to check that out. And for certain before October 19th. Then November 2nd, we're expecting to have a new single family residence as a site plan review before the commission for a vacant property in the Calabasas Highlands. And that's all I've got tracking for commission attention in the next several weeks.
Thank you, Tom. When do you think we're going to see the memo? I've asked Epi, I asked, Matt, when are we going to see the memo? Maybe Andrew can answer this, with the true maximum number of units for the 8 sites listed in the affordable housing overlay zone. I mean, Matt told me the real number is actually 50, 80, or 100% higher. And the problem is we have low numbers there that are not the real numbers. And I don't know how people can make planning decisions or how the council can make decisions without knowing what the real maximum number of units would be. Maybe you weren't here for those meetings.
I think I may have missed whatever that discussion was.
So Matt is going to give us a memo with the real maximum number of units in the affordable housing overlay zone, because those numbers are not real. the ones that are there now. And Matt told me privately that they're either 50, 80, or 100% higher than those numbers. And we've seen, for example, this project that's coming in on the 19th, they're using the higher numbers. So the problem is how does the city council, how does the planning commission plan when they don't have real numbers?
Well, I was involved in the housing element every step of the way, and I don't believe we had incorrect numbers in there.
All
When
the
you say the
numbers
housing
are-
element is incorrect?
Yeah, they're all incorrect because they're all the base numbers, and they should have at least put an asterisk and said, but these can be increased by 50, 80, or 100%.
Well, the percentage increases that I think you're referring to are increases that are permitted under state law under the
Correct.
density bonus law.
Correct.
We do not, as a matter of practice, incorporate, other than by reference, state statute. If we literally word for word did that, included what you're specifying, we would have to amend every time the state decides to amend its law. So we simply refer to that law.
Okay, so
By
but
reference.
the problem
And
is
so it is actually by that reference incorporated. It's
No,
the density bonus.
it's not there. He said he would come up with the memo, so I'm hopeful we can get a memo so that for the other 6, we can't do anything about those 2, but at least for the other 6, we can know what the number of units could be. I mean, I don't know how people make planning decisions if they don't know what the real number of units is.
Mr. Chairman.
Follow up with the city attorney so that we can
Okay.
get some guidance to the commission that would include an understanding of what the affordable housing overlay could potentially not lead to in terms of housing unit development based on not only AHO numbers, which are correct in the housing element, but also density bonus if you put them together.
Right, exactly. Okay,
We would do that.
he said he would do a memo or something. Are there any, I'm sorry, is there anything else from staff or from the city and the director's report? Other than that, we can go reports from the planning commissioners. Do you have any?
Nothing here.
Any reports? Do you have any report? No? Oh,
I have one thing.
oh, okay.
I did have a chance to take a look at the story. I'm sorry. I had a chance to look at the story polls in the commons area. And they are according to what was proposed and what the folks at the council have approved. I know that a couple of members of the commission were interested in seeing whether there would be some other, I guess, identifying feature like a flag or a pennant or something to that effect. And in looking at the stuff, and I took some pictures of it, it looks like there are flags that are wrapped around the tops of each of the poles, so they haven't been unfurled. And if they were intended to be unfurled, that'd be great to see, because otherwise it looks like a dipole antenna, you know, in each of the locations. And I would say if that was, you know, a part of the recommendation from the city council or the staff to the council, and those flags or pennants need to be unfurled, that would be helpful.
If I may, commission members, if you have a concern of anything like that related to that property and that project, I would invite you to just bring it up to our director and not among yourselves on the dais ahead of this item coming before you. Even though this is just about story polls, I get it, but I don't want it to lead down a path that would be unfortunate, right? So we'll make a note of that. Now, I will let you know that we've already informed the applicant that we'd like to see something better to make the tops of those poles more visible. I don't know for sure that there are flags that are not furled up there. I don't know whether they just painted it or something trying to make it look, but we agree that it's inadequate. And I'm just letting you know, we're trying to get something done that will make it more readily apparent.
Well, I'll share my photos with you so you can take a look. I think that there is something actually at the top of each, and I believe they just haven't been unfurled yet, but that's another issue. We'll talk
So,
about
yeah,
that.
the applicant said they would put, when they came to the planning commission, they said they would put ribbons or flags or something at the top, because right now you need binoculars to see them. I mean, it's like a lightning rod or like an antenna, as Dennis said. So, all right. And I would have one other request since that you could ask them on I do like the videos or whatever you call that, but can they make it so you can press a key and stop it? Because you have to go through the whole thing each time if you want to see one view. Yeah.
We're not in a position to ask them to modify the software that they created
Okay.
at this stage
All
of the game. They have something that meets the requirements that were provided by the council.
Got it. All right. It was just a question. If there's nothing else, then
I move we adjourn.
enjoyed in honor of Arnold's sake. A second. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jim.